I'm ultimately, though, going to go, perhaps appropriately, with the suggestion offered by my very first guest, Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, who suggested the title Dear Dr. Fantasy. As in, so apologies to Steve Winwood, and apologies to Traffic, and apologies to all of you for what I just did. But so,
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, hello, and welcome to A Critical Dragon, where I will get through my intro and we will talk about archetypes and dragons. And this is number 15 in the series. I hate you, Philip. I hate you with a passion.
So I recommend you start with I was just warming up my singing voice.
I hate you.
I know.
I was just warming up my singing voice.
Brash explained.
Now, Night of the Assassin by Brash Fluster, an original composition, lyrics by Brash Fluster, music by Brash Fluster, composed in the year...
Sing or die, said Tiny Chanter.
In the black heart of Malaz City, on a black night of blackness so dark, no one could see a thing, it was all gritty, when a guard cried out, "Hark!" But the darkness did not answer, because no one was there. Callum Makar was climbing the tar, instead of using the stair. I hate
Okay. I know. It's good, isn't it? Okay, keep going.
The Mad Empress sat on her throne, dreaming up new ways of torture, when she heard a terrible groan, and she did bless the Mendic's cure. There was writing carved on the wall, great kings and mad tyrants wrote dark curses, there in the gloomy royal stall, so ranked with smeared mercies.
Okay. She's sitting on a shithole, Togo advised demanded. Taking a dump? That's the whole point. Oh, go ahead.
That's the whole point.
Brash retorted.
Everybody sings about kings and princesses and heroes, but no one ever mentions natural bodily functions. I introduced the Mad Empress at a vulnerable moment, you see, to earn her more sympathy and remind listeners she's as human as anybody.
People know all that, Tolgert said, and they don't want to hear about it in some damn song about assassins.
I'm setting the scene.
Let him go on, said Tiny. Then he pointed a culpable finger at Brash. But no more natural bodily functions.
Out of the dark night sky rained down matter most foul, and Callum swore and winked at his eye, wishing he'd brought a
I
towel.
haven't seen this in a while. So.
But the chute yawned above him. His way to the Mad Empress was a black hole. Could he but reach the sticky rim, he was but moments from his goal. In days of yore, she was an assassin too, a whore of murder with claws unfurled. But now she just needed hard to poo, straining to make her hair curl.
I said,
It's part of the story.
squealed Brash Fluster.
I can't help it.
Neither could the Empress, seems, added Apto under his breath.
Callum looked up then to see a Granado, but swift he was in dodging its plunge, and he launched up into the brown window, and in the narrow channel he thrashed and lunged, and climbed, seeking the light, or at least he hoped for some other way to end the plight of this darkest night, as he prayed for the light of day. Through the narrowest of chutes he climbed into a pink cavern, and swam among the furly flukes. Oh, he cried, when will I ever learn? 'Tis said across the entire empire that the Empress Lysine did give birth to the royal assassins of the claw entire. You can take that for what it is worth. But Callum Mechar knew her better than most. He did carve his name on her wall, and we'd all swear he got there first, because we never went there at all.
Imagine, if you dare, the nature of the silence that followed Night of the Assassin. To this very day, all these years later, I struggle and fail to find words of sufficient girth and suitable precision, and can only crawl or reach closer, prostrate with nary more than a few gibbering mumbles. We had all halted, I do recall, but the faces on all sides were but a blur, barring that of Selip, who marched in from a cloud of dust, smiling with blackened teeth, and said, "Thank you for waiting."
Think about that.
Yeah, that's the difficulty. And so there is a certain amount of subjectivity, I think, that goes into this discussion, because not only can the tightrope change with time, but I think that your tastes are different from mine. Mine are much better than yours, for example.
Mhm.
So, no, I mean, sorry, jokes aside.
No,
we
hang a
had-
sec.
Yes.
Just so you're aware, remember, this is going on my channel.
Oh,
I get to edit this.
Oh, no.
Just warning you.
Uh-oh. No, you're not going to put one of your art pictures in there, are you? No.
But please, carry on with your point.
Sensitivities to the reading. So it becomes a tricky business for a fantasy writer then to say, okay, how much do where do you want, if you're going to err, are you going to err on the side of, too stylized, or are you going to err on the side of too colloquial? And it's a tough decision to make, I think, as a writer. It's a decision that writers of other genres don't need. Right. Yeah. So she gives an example in the essay, which is, by the way, 1973. So that's probably important. It's nearly 50 years old. She gives an example in the essay of a fantasy work that was written in about that time. And she plays a little trick where she takes out the proper